Waka, what's up, and welcome back to the channel for yet another FC Finch review, and it is Eaglemoss Day, and today on the table we're going to be taking a look at the Eaglemoss official Starships collection, U.S.S. Prometheus. And yes, before anybody, yes, we did look at the Prometheus. No, it was not the standard version, it was the XL version. In fact, that was one of the first Eaglemoss videos I did. We looked at the Prometheus XL, and I did state during that review that at some point we'd be taking a look at this model right here because it is still very good for one of these standard models. It's apparently still hot right now. As I see this thing sold out on master replicas, so definitely we are going to be taking a look at it today, going through it and seeing why this model is so hot. But first, let's get a good look at the magazine like we always do. I'm going to move the Prometheus off to the side, and of course here we get probably the more in-depth coverage of the Prometheus, less about Voyager like the XL was, because the XL has to cover something. It is the U.S.S. Prometheus NX 59650, NX being of course the designation for experimental, quote unquote, launched in 2374 at a max speed of warp 9.99. I believe it's one of the fastest ships of the time, and a length of 126 meters, which is relatively small, and a multi-vector assault mode. All right, and there we go. Of course, we have our stand instructions right there, front and center. Then, of course, we have profile, U.S.S. Prometheus, ship separation, designing the ship on screen. And then, of course, we have now a nice frontal orthographic, I can't talk today, view of the Prometheus. And then a few shots of the Prometheus. We got the shuttle bay right here. We got the back of the pylon. So there's a little top nacelle. And then, of course, we have NX 59650. It is the Prometheus class. It is built in the Beta Antares shipyards of 2374, 126 meters long with 15 decks, warp speed 9.99, type 12 phasers. Had to study my Roman numerals real quick. Photon and quantum torpedoes on multi-vector assault mode. What is that? Just got a coded message in a model. I said this before, message in a model, one of my favorite episodes. And there we have a nice shot of the Prometheus from the episode Message in a Model at warp speed, all getting into its multi-vector assault mode. There it is in one piece at the top, and there it is right from the back. Really nice animation shot. I love that. That looks really, really good. And then, of course, we have it taking out the Nebula class that was pursuing them. Of course, the Prometheus was hijacked by the Romulans. There's a Romulan commander. There's the Doctor and the EMH Mark II or Mark IV, whatever he was. And then, of course, there is the Romulans hijacking the ship. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. And then, of course, we have the ship separated into all its components. Nice side and frontal orthographic views. Really, really good looking. I love how that looks. That looks really cool. So kind of hard to get a full intake, like a full view of the ship just from looking at it one angle. And again, I love the kind of X nacelle design. That looks really, really good. And then, of course, we have all these orthographic views. I love it. This is one of those ships that like everybody, I don't know a person that don't love this ship. It just looks so good. It has some cool features. Then we have a nice view of the Prometheus. We got some sketches, of course. What I love about these magazines, we see all the sketches. I believe it's supposed to split into 5 pieces initially, and then we can see it's becoming more and more like the ship that we saw. And yeah, there we go. There's its 5 sections that we have right there. So yeah, and of course there we have the Prometheus getting more and more like the ship we know and love in all its various modes. And then, of course, we have the Prometheus at warp speed in the back. And then, of course, we got little previews from Eaglemoss. And then, of course, a nice, oh, I love this. It's got the frontal orthographic view of the ship in 3 pieces. And that would be it for the magazine. And of course, since this stand does come apart, like most of my stands, not glued together, we do have the typical port in the bottom. You're just going to plug this in. It's not really all that tight, but the Prometheus doesn't really move too much. And you're going to set it down there, and you can kind of already see that these are kind of fit to wrap around the back of the arrowhead section. It's not really a saucer. And there you go. And there is the Prometheus in its stand, just like that. And let us get a good look at the Prometheus. It is time. Again, I stated in my XL review that this is actually one of the more detailed standard ships, and just look at that. I mean, it's got that nice gray paneling. You could tell this was kind of a secretive Federation ship because it does have the darker lines lines on it, more gray Aztecing. You can see the subtle Aztecing inside of it. Looks really, really good. Again, the panels along the side here, nice and embossed, looks good. Phaser strips on the front, and then of course back here towards the impulse engines, you got the little nacelle detail. I love that. Look how it's got the little pennant on there, and then of course the bridge detail at the top looks really, really good. And you got all these panels here. You got, I believe these are escape pods outlined in like a beige, and then of course you got the white for the windows, looking really, really good. Again, more paneling back here, looks good. And then of course along the back you have like this spine real quick. It looks really, really good. And then of course you have a panel right along here, and then you have your shuttle bay done in a nice like dark gray, looking really awesome. And then you have some embossed detail along the nacelle pylons, and that's all embossed in a nice gray and whatnot. And it goes to the nacelles, and of course you got the pennants on all the nacelles. You got a little Federation symbol, same thing with the bottom. And then of course you have the red transparent plastic for the Bassard collectors and the blue for the warp coils, which I really love. And it's done on all 4 nacelles. That is really good. To me, that adds a very premium touch to all Eaglemoss models. I love the transparent plastic versus the paint. There's only a handful of models that I actually prefer the paint, the Enterprise F being one of them. For the most part, I am all about transparent plastic. The bottom of the arrowhead, pretty much void of paint. You got a couple phaser strips down here, then of course all along the hull leading towards the lower section of the ship you got tons of paint. I mean, you can just see this thing was meant to go to town, man. It's got phaser strips everywhere. That's pretty cool. And again, just this little symbol right along here, not sure what that's about. And then of course a spat right here, and then it looks like we have our deflector. Let me get a good look. That is painted in there, so you can kind of see here's the deflector dish. It's just kind of like a spotch of paint, so that's kind of a downer on the model. I believe it's transparent plastic on the XL. We'll take a look in just a second to confirm. I'm getting a whole bunch of shadows here, so forgive me. And then of course we got the pennant on the bottom side. Half the signifiers from the Federation, so you know who's kicking your ass. And then of course you got paneling on the bottom here in a nice gray, and then along the nacelles. I mean, just a lot of detail everywhere. It looks really, really good. The only place that's kind of a void is the bottom of the arrowhead, but you kind of see the Aztecing on there, kind of really done nicely. And yeah, but there you go, and that would be it for the ship. Again, for a standard model, this just looks absolutely superb. I really think it looks great. And for a quick comparison, let's of course bring in, we already did this, but we'll do it again. We'll bring in the XL Prometheus class. You can just see, I mean, you get a lot more of that nice transparent plastic on there, but you can see overall, and we'll kind of get a top view of the ships side by side. You can see overall that the Prometheus standard is really still very detailed compared to its bigger brother. Again, they share a lot of the same details, a lot of the improvements. And again, we see the bottom half of the XL gets a little more coloring, especially in this area. You don't really see that on the standard model, but you still get all the phaser chips. You get a bit more of a beige than you do a dark color. And of course, the other noticeable area is in the deflector, where you can see that the XL, it's a bit outlined and a bit more of a white than it is a standard, just a blue. Again, so that is a plus there, but for the most part, still very similarly detailed, given what they are. And lastly but not least, let's just do it with another ship for comparison. Even though this is not to scale, we'll do it with the XL Voyager real quick. And of course, the Prometheus basically fits inside Voyager's saucer section. Of course, Voyager being the XL, and definitely not to scale. But there you go for that. Let me get so hard to finagle. And there you go, a nice frontal view of each ship. And yeah, there you go for a quick comparison. So let's summarize, and there we have it for the Eaglemoss official Starships collection U.S.S. Prometheus, the standard size. And yeah, this may be a standard ship, but it certainly packs a big punch as far as detail goes. Just definitely a lot of nice details. I love the transparent plastic on the nacelles. I think overall it has a pretty premium feel given what it is, and especially for so early in the Eaglemoss collection. This was just a real fine example of what was to come with all the nice little little details and niceties. Everything, just especially the nacelle at the top, just really outlined very well. As far as a few nitpicks goes, it is void of a couple details in a few areas, namely the deflector being just a splotch of blue, the underside of the arrowhead being just that plain gray. But overall, again, for a standard model, this is generally a really solid attempt at the ship, and it even does some things that are very on par with its XL version. The XL only going a little bit further on the model. Definitely both really awesome to have. And I did get this back when Eaglemoss was in business. You can, however, check out realmerch.com or Master Replicas. I believe it's currently out of stock on Master Replicas, but check there before you go off to eBay, because apparently this is a very hot model even still. So definitely, and that's why we're reviewing it on the table today. And that being said, I have been FC Finch. If you found this review fun and informative, consider hitting the like button down below. Also consider leaving me a comment. I love to talk nerd stuff, love to talk Star Trek. Let's talk about some Star Trek. And that being said, also tell me what's in your collection. And that being said, if you found this, if you like other Eaglemoss series, you can check out my Eaglemoss playlist also down below. I'll even put a separate description for the Prometheus XL. And consider subscribing to the channel. I do Eaglemoss ships 1 to 3 times a week, so you definitely don't want to miss that. And I have been FC Finch. Thank you so much for watching. Live long and prosper.